Hello and welcome to this month's Learn at Lunch webinar presented by the Utah State University Forestry Extension and the Utah Division of Forestry. I'm Megan Dettenmeyer and I'll be hosting this webinar and acting as a moderator for any questions that come up during the course of the presentation. If you have any questions regarding setup, audio problems, or other technical issues, feel free to type your questions in the chat box at the bottom left corner of the screen and I'll do my best to assist. Our speakers will set aside time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions from our audience. If you have a question for the speaker, type it in the chat box and we'll do our best to address your questions at the end. This webinar is being recorded. You can find it later on forestry.usu.edu on our Facebook page, USU Extension Forestry. ISA CEUs will be available for participants who stay engaged throughout the presentation. To receive a CEU credit, type your full name and ISA certification number in the private chat with Heather Church. To start a private chat, move your mouse over her name and click Private Chat. Before we get started, I'd like to encourage you to participate in our polls. I'll bring those up at the end of the talk. I will close the okay. With that, we'll get started. This month we have speakers from Okay. Génie MontBlanc is the project coordinator for the Great Basin Fire Science Delivery Project located at the University of Nevada in Reno. Génie received a dual master's degree in biology and resource economics from the University of Nevada and has conducted fire and ecology-related research for the university, the Forest Service, and the Agricultural Research Service. Gloria Edwards is a program coordinator for the Southern Rockies Fire Science Network. She brings experience in forestry, firefighting, grant writing, archaeology, and private business to the region to help build a cohesive fire science network. She's a graduate of the University of Maryland and Northern Arizona University. With that, I will get started and I'll pull up their talk.
Okay, great. Génie, we ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is a wonderful turnout for today. We really appreciate all of you taking your lunchtime to visit with us, and we're looking forward to an ongoing relationship. As Megan mentioned, my name is Gloria Edwards. Some of you may already know about the Joint Fire Science Program and the Knowledge Consortia. We're going to review some of the basics about the Joint Fire Science Program and what JFSP is, otherwise known, the acronym is JFSP, and the support and services offered by the regions of the Great Basin Fire Science Delivery Project and the Southern Rockies Fire Science Network. Megan, I'm sorry, I advanced the slides, correct? Hello?
Yeah, I think you just press that little next arrow.
Okay, I'm going ahead then. Okay, if everyone sees the map that's come up.
Yes.
The Joint Fire Science Program covers the nation. Rather than define a specific geographic or political boundaries for our region, the Joint Fire Science Program asked all of us to identify our own regional boundaries on the basis of ecological similarities. So what you see in front of you is very basic wildfire ecoregions for the United States. And you see up in the northeastern corner the Mid-Atlantic states, the northern and Mid-Atlantic lake states, is white. That has now been colored in. So we are now, I believe, 15 consortia, correct, Génie?
I think it's still 14. 15 soon.
14. All right. So that is, I don't have the updated map yet, but we are now United States of Fire Science Consortia based on fire ecozones. But these boundaries are not rigid or complete in any way. Clients who desire our services and products are welcome to go to the consortia that service their needs. JFSP made it clear from the beginning that although, I'm reading from notes here, that although there would be some administrative issues, each consortium had the freedom to develop fire science delivery programs that best fit their stakeholders, well, with stakeholder input. And the consortia were no way to compete with each other, which is wonderful because that gives us lots of flexibility and some great working relationships. JFSP also encouraged us to develop our programs around 6 key objectives: to disseminate information and build relationships, to list and describe existing research and synthesis information about wildfire, to assess the quality and applicability of this wildfire research, and to demonstrate research on the ground. That is one of our primary tenets and one of the most important for managers. And also to support adaptive management and identify new research and syntheses. So these all point to a system that helps us facilitate the flow of fire science information, search out new fire science, try to understand what managers on the ground need, seek that fire science out, and help to build a network among those who need it. We are federally funded by grants, by federal grants. The Bureau of Land Management Interagency Fire Office in Boise is our flow-through office, which then disseminates the money to various agencies and universities that house the grant offices. We have to compete for our grants, reapply for our grants every 2 years, and they help us. They also act as a resource for us and for our clients and help us build a cohesive fire science network. And those are our founding tenets. Our purpose is to be inclusive, impartial. We seek out to be a neutral voice for fire science, and end-user driven. What is it that the people or the researchers need in the end? So here's a little more description about the background about the Joint Fire Science Program. It was a national and interagency group established in 1998 in response to the mega wildfires that were becoming a trend in our nation. They wanted to be sure that the decisions that were being made on the ground and in research and in interagency groups were backed by science. So the purpose is to provide a scientific basis and rationale for implementing a national interagency fuels management program. And we've highlighted the main tenet here with a focus on activities that will lead to development and application of tools for managers. And one of the most significant outcomes of the Joint Fire Science Program is the funding. Joint Fire Science Program, or JFSP, funds fire science research that is applicable to management. The key goals of JFSP-funded research: high-quality science. We want to be disseminating credible fire science to the best of our ability, although things change quite a bit, as we know, with megafires. Address manager-driven questions. What are they needing on the ground? What questions do they have that researchers need to know about? Where are our weaknesses and our strengths in research currently? And what is the effective way for science delivery and application? How do you need us to help you get that science so you can use it? The focus of a lot of the research is mostly fuels treatment, smoke management, and air quality, and a potpourri of related fire science. By 2013, Joint Fire Science Program has funded 650 projects nationwide, from $8 million to $16 million a year, and thousands of outputs. So in 2009, we had a program review to see how we were doing with this mission. We had lots of success. The 389 research projects were funded, but the research was not hitting the ground enough. The managers that participated in the review recommended that more science delivery and broader engagement with stakeholders be managed. So Joint Fire Science Program at the national level and the Board of Directors came up with an idea for the regional consortia to divide up the nation based on fire science needs, and created the vision for these regional consortia to be a national network to accelerate the awareness, understanding, and adoption of wildfire science information by a host of agencies, not just the federal agencies, but all the way down to the local and municipal and private stakeholders within similar regions. So this has resulted to support this, not only for the consortia, as you see on the map, but a wide variety of sources, syntheses, fire science digests, and white papers have been produced. And one of the most accessible ways to track what we're doing with fire science is through our social media, which has been a great help. You can go to the firescience.gov website, follow us on Twitter, ScienceFire, at ScienceFire, I believe it is. Génie, do I have that right?
That's what it looks like.
Okay. And then there's Facebook with, I think we're up to 4,000 followers or more, 5,000 by now, with an ongoing accessibility to what's happening with the Joint Fire Science Program and consortia all over the nation, as well as the Fire Science Friday Flash, which is a brief write-up made very accessible for issues, more recent issues in fire science. A significant issue that would be coming out that most people could use, usually on, say, smoke management, dealing with the public, different aspects of wildlife or soils, those kinds of things can be found in the Friday Flash. So to discuss a little bit more the funding that's available, the deadlines for Joint Fire Science proposal are usually in the late fall of each year, often in November or October or early November. And the topics are based on surveys that the consortia conduct throughout the year on what the research needs are of each region. So in the fall, we send out some surveys to people who are participating and ask them what they feel their research needs are. And based on that, we consolidate that and send that to Joint Fire Science Program that bases their grant funding on what people are asking for. So if you're interested or you have a project that you would like to have funded, please get in touch with us through our websites here or through firescience.gov. So I'd like to talk a little bit now about the Southern Rockies Fire Science Network that covers southern Wyoming, Intermountain Colorado, and eastern Utah, and also the Black Hills of South Dakota. Why do we need a Southern Rockies Fire Science Network? What sets our region apart from the other ones? And I may be preaching to the choir since I have a lot of people already in forestry and arborists and fire. But as you know, drought, challenging climate, shifting winds, an extensive WUI and issues that come along with that, changes in forest health, as well as invasive species, watershed management. Our mission, specific to our region, I wanted to create something that covered all the way from the Red Rocks, all the way through the treetops and high mountains, all the way to South Dakota. So our mission is to support fire science from mesas to mountains, ensuring awareness and use of credible fire science between researchers, managers, and communities. We have sponsored a lot of community events and have a lot of citizen involvement. So what does that mean to you? How do we get this fire science out? Just our map, a little more specific so you have an idea of where we cover. This is our area adjacent to the other consortia. So as you can see, we cover up to the southern sage part of Wyoming, and generally over to the center of Utah, and all the way over to the Front Range of Colorado. And like I said, these boundaries are not set in stone. We work a lot with our neighboring consortia to help things happen and meet needs of managers. Excuse me. This is a brief look. I don't want to overwhelm everybody with lots of detail. This is a brief look at how we set up our consortia. And the main portion of this, you can see the hub of this really is the center where it says Leadership Team and Technical Advisory Team. We have a core team of people that make the day-to-day decisions, and our leadership team is made up of a variety of researchers, managers, and industry individuals, as well as the Nature Conservancy, to make decisions about what projects are needed and how best to deliver it. This technical advisory team that you see kind of surrounds and advises our leadership team. The technical advisory team is folks on the ground, out trimming the trees, carrying the drip torches, or writing the burn plans, or managing fire ecology programs and ecosystem programs. And so we rely on our technical advisory team and are actively recruiting for our technical advisory team to stay in touch with us and let us know what the needs are on the ground. And you can see above there's also inputs into our group, universities, research scientists, federal and state agencies, local municipal agencies, which are pretty popular in our group, nonprofits, and the private sector and timber industry as well. Across the center, these are the central issues that we've seen to be identified by managers, and most of our issues fall in one of these categories: smoke, WUI, fuels, forest restoration, post alignment. And I may be modifying this a little bit to include industry and fire operations. We've also had some feedback on that. You can see down here in the lower right-hand corner, we have surveys and evaluate all of our projects, which feeds back into our choices for delivery in the future. This is just a brief slide of our core team. Myself, Chad Hoffman, Merrill Kaufman, Tony Chang at CSU, and Paige Lewis of the Nature Conservancy. And I understand that this webinar will be available through the USU website, and this contact information can be accessible then. So in most of my talks, I have a series of slides that discuss the regional issues for our region, but I pared that down to focus on you. And this is a brief list of the main issues that I'm understanding land managers deal with in Utah. A lot of tamarask management issues with reintroducing fire on waterways, the effects of tamarask management in watersheds, invasive species in those watersheds, and high altitude deserts and how we manage those. Managing for post-fire resilience and aspen regeneration are, I understand, major topics. The Southern Rockies Fire Science Network is in the process of sponsoring Gamble Oak workshops, which some of you may have heard about. We've been soliciting for managers that work specifically in lots of Gamble Oak to meet with us to share their current basis of knowledge and help us to produce a science assessment of our Gamble Oak and how best to manage it in the WUI and in the fire realm. It's our understanding that there's been some science research on Gamble Oak in Arizona, but we don't have a lot of science basic here in the Southern Rockies region. So that's one of the major issues that we're taking a look at, is putting on Gamble Oak workshops. If you'd like more information about that, be sure to get in touch with me, send me your email, and we'll keep you included in the loop. So at the end, I'm looking forward for you to share your feedback and other science needs for your region. Just a real quick note, we are based at the Warner College of Natural Resources at Colorado State University. We have a wide variety of supportive institutes here that help us with science delivery and information. The Colorado Forest Restoration Institute, the Center for Managing WUI Wildfire Risk. We have people involved in our technical advisory team from the NRCS, the Society for Ecological Restoration, and other groups here on campus. So one thing that we've gotten a lot of feedback about is we already have a pretty heavy area that produces lots of publications. Many research centers and agencies currently produce syntheses, fact sheets, research briefs, and abstracts on wildfire ecology, management, social science, and other related topics. So rather, in our area, rather than Southern Rockies adding to this list with more print, we are seeking to amplify the reach and capacity of these resources through current and future methods. This producing print right now is a commitment of time and resources, and with the mega fires that we're dealing with over here, as well as flooding, invasive species, and many other issues, we're putting a lot of effort into face-to-face interactions and getting to know our managers. But if syntheses and other abstracts and print sources are needed, we're definitely looking forward to including that as well. So how are we getting this out there to you? Through our website, our e-news, Twitter, expert cadres, and field events. Expert cadres are available if you have specialist questions and you need researchers or visiting scientists. We're the people to ask, and we can hook you up with a specialist or expert cadre to assess your needs. Networking within the region and other consortia. The consortia have lots of projects and work very well together. Webinars and online learning, presentations and conferences, and your suggestions. We're always open. Tell us how we can help you meet your fire science needs. Real quick, Génie and I would like to highlight a story that helped to solve some on-the-ground management problems. There was a project in Eagle County, Colorado, that the purpose was to do some sagebrush restoration to support sage-grouse habitat, and they were churning away out there in the field with mastication equipment, and came across an endangered or a sensitive species, Harrington penstemon. You see there illustrated in the center, which only occurs at higher altitudes in Colorado. So they had to stop their entire project. They weren't sure how Harrington penstemon would respond to mastication. So they contacted Génie in Reno and knew that they were worked often with many projects in sage-grouse. Génie gave them a lot of references, put them in touch with some scientists that had done research in sage-grouse habitat, but didn't know too much. Génie, I don't think you had a lot of references over there for Harrington penstemon, correct?
Right, since it was just over the border.
Right. So we directed the managers to the Rocky Mountain Research Station, which put together a small team of plant ecologists and forest managers and silviculturists, and they started a conference calling to check in on how the project was going and to help with on-the-ground management decisions right away. So that worked out very well. Another example of exchange and collaboration between Southern Rockies and Great Basin, there were some issues with some prescribed fire in dry mixed conifer on some of the federal lands. No matter how they were trying to write their burn plans and the prescribed fire plans and burn when there was snow on the ground and manage for this habitat, they were still losing the prescribed fire. It was escaping and getting away, becoming too intense. So they stopped and they reached out to the consortia in California, Great Basin, and Southern Rockies to see if other people were having this issue in dry mixed conifer. And a lot of consortia gave webinar and print resources, and we made sure that they were hooked up with another on-the-ground manager here in the Rockies that could give them some pointers. So that's another example.
And if I might add, one great thing about this is that now we have the opportunity to possibly jointly fund the compilation of 20 years of prescribed burn plans that the Forest Service has already. And so this fall, our two projects are hoping to jointly fund a compilation of all this information so that hopefully people can make more informed decisions and better burn plans, have some more guidelines in the future.
Great. That's right. We'll be working with a federal fire ecologist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we're really looking forward to that. Okay, just a real quick summary of our online social resources, on the website resources. Please go to srockiesfsn.org. It lists what we'll be doing, what's coming up in the future, more about us, our links, our events. This will be changing a little bit. We'll be having some support from the Joint Fire Science Program for new website platforms and content. So, but it'll still be the same great resource. So, if any of you out there listening are interested in applying for support, which can be informational, logistical, or financial, please visit the Event Forms page on our website, right on the main site. Under Events tab, follow the directions to submit your form. And please fill out the form. You have to download the PDF first and fill that out and send that to us, and our planning committee, which is basically the same thing as our core team, will get to it and get back to you and work with you about meeting your needs. Sorry. Our e-news comes out usually every 2 weeks. This number is already a little out of date. We probably have about 400 followers on our e-news now. We highlight regional research, news, and keep up to date with upcoming events, webinars, workshops, presentations, and your information. We're working hard not to make this a loading dock kind of thing where we're just churning out info and people come by and just, load their barges with more info and papers. If you have a project, say the mixed dry conifer prescribed burning, or you have a question, and maybe somebody in the same fire ecozone has the same issues or could benefit from your news, please send it to us, and we'd like to include it in our e-news and get it out there and use this as an exchange resource. And we have some fun with it too. We also are avid users of Twitter. This number is also up to date. I think we probably have 260 followers now. So we're following in a wonderful conversation format other consortia, agencies, federal parks, fire departments, municipalities. We're followed by researchers, agencies, managers, as well as reporters, people who are looking for the latest on fire science and who can benefit. Webinars, numerous through the year. I would say this applies to both us and the Great Basin on a variety of issues. I'm going to kind of speed up. I want to make sure I have enough time for Génie. So our face-to-face events, like I said, we really try to emphasize this. From Wyoming, presentations, conferences, groups meeting with managers to solve watershed issues, forest management measurement, and our proposed 2015 events and growth. We're looking at doing a roadshow in Yellowstone of the Yellowstone fire, post-fire ecology roadshow about the long-term effects of extreme fire, a roadshow for prescribed fire in timber with the timber industry on Forest Service lands in the Black Hills, looking to support the Colorado Prescribed Fire Council workshop, and Génie and I may be working together on the Great Basin Consortium Conference in 2014. Okay, and I think that's over to you, Génie.
All right, great. So my name is Génie. I tell people it ends in a "nie," so think of an "e," but it's okay. Being called Génie is totally fine as long as I don't get called Eugene. My full name is Eugenie, and people can't seem to see the I, so I get called Eugene if I have my full name up there. All right, so let's revisit this Joint Fire Science Program Knowledge Exchange Consortia map. Can you see my cursor, Gloria?
No.
Okay.
No, I can't. I didn't know if anybody could see mine either.
So,
Okay.
So as you can see, here's the Great Basin region. It is the largest area of contiguous closed drainage basin watersheds in North America and is considered one of the most endangered ecoregions in the United States. So as you can see, the Great Basin is mostly Nevada and parts of 4 other states, including the western half of Utah. And some of the issues that we're dealing with are the decline of sagebrush habitat, invasive exotic annuals like cheatgrass, pinyon juniper woodland encroachment into lower elevation sagebrush habitat. So those are some of the main things that we're concerned with in the Great Basin. But as far as our borders go and shared boundaries with the Southern Rockies, we also have other issues like aspen management, gamble oak, as Gloria mentioned earlier, and mixed conifer fuels. And so we try to work on those things together. Also, I was just looking that someone had asked if we'd ever seen pests that are an issue with fire science, and the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that's a real issue in the Great Basin is the aroga moth, which destroys sagebrush and can increase fire hazard. All right, moving on. Oh, let's see. I'm going to try to get rid of this arrow. There we go. Okay, so our Great Basin Fire Science Delivery Project is governed by a steering committee of 8 members and advised by a 7-member advisory committee. So as you can see, our steering committee members are located in various states and agencies and institutions around the Great Basin. So we like to think of, we think of information being in the cloud these days. Well, we like to think of our project in the cloud. However, we are located at the University of Nevada in Reno. All right, and as Gloria mentioned, we also provide a forum where regional land managers can identify their fire and fuels technical needs, and then we help to meet these needs through preferred tools and venues such as information syntheses, webinars, a website, newsletters, videos, academic courses, and social media, and through direct lines of communication between managers and researchers, such as field workshops, phone calls, and site visits. So just to give an example regarding our syntheses, we just completed our big fire effects on vegetation and soils in the Great Basin synthesis. Richard Miller with Oregon State University was the lead author, and that just came out January. If you haven't seen a copy of that or would like one, I'm happy to send you one. Just send me an email. And Rick Miller and colleagues are actually pulling that apart further into 2 field guides, a pre-disturbance treatment guide and a post-disturbance treatment guide. So those will be coming out this summer and fall. And we're actually taking this information on the road and have a series of field tours in 4 of the 5 states of the Great Basin, and that's coming up just within the next few weeks of June. So if you'd like more information on those tours, you can, the information's on the homepage of our website, or you can email me as well. But we try to provide information and ways of 2-way communication in lots of different venues. And just to give you a little bit of background about our project, before our implementation grant, as we were writing our proposal, we conducted 11 focus groups and had 111 participants from, these are land managers from various federal agencies, and we asked what their top technical needs and desired delivery modes were. And so as you can see, some of the top technical needs were specifics regarding fuels and fire management, monitoring and adaptive management, resilience and state and transition information, species conservation, etc. And some of the top delivery modes were the capacity to contact experts, having a web-based clearinghouse of information, cadres or networks of managers and researchers, technical guides, etc. So we've been in business for 4 years now, and we have evaluations to try to assess how we're doing and if we're meeting people's needs. And so we've received a lot of positive feedback. Some of this, here's a few examples. We did this webinar as a group in Burns. We're drawing between 10 and 15 people for the webinars and doing them as a group. It's interesting because it's generating discussion within the district after the presentation. So this is fantastic. This is what we want, is to generate discussion and gather information from peers and experts in your region. Another piece of feedback, you're doing a good job of connecting management and science, and I really appreciate it. Keep up the good work. That's an excellent compliment. And finally, your project is a great resource. So we feel, even though there's always more to improve, we feel like at least we're on the right track. So for the near future, we just found out that we have been funded again for the next 2 years, so through June of 2016. So in that time, we'll continue with the previous products and methods of communication discussed earlier, but we also want to try some new things such as short instructional field videos, maybe 3 to 5 minute videos on looking at what happens to the soil when a drill seeder goes through and seeds in a certain region, what makes some seeding successful and others not, maybe prescribed fire patches of ground. So anyway, little short videos where people can actually see what's going on the ground. We're going to reorganize. We have a network of experts, an expert cadre of managers, and it's we're still trying to figure out how to make it work. So it's sort of limited, and we're trying to figure out how we can get more people involved in the discussion. So we have some ideas, and we'll be rolling that out very soon. We have continued website upgrades, as Gloria mentioned, and right now these will be upgraded, but we currently do have a place to enter your needs or ask an expert. We have a place that houses all of our regional webinars, and you can also write and submit your synthesis ideas. We're also thinking about conducting a social network analysis to see who does what in our region and how people talk to each other. And we're looking forward to somehow finding a way to increase manager and researcher collaborations, in-field experiments on the ground with both involved throughout the process. And you can add your voice. You can submit your questions, ideas, or discussions. We have discussion forums on our webpage, but are trying to make those better. You could submit your lessons learned to share with others. We also have, through our partners, the Great Basin Research and Management Partnership, we're putting together an expertise database and a projects database, and so you can enter those as well if you want to be in that database, so people can find you and talk to you if you'd like and if need be. So these are things we're continually working to make better, but it would be great to have your voice. So you can contact us, Gloria or myself, or RPIs, through email, website, phone, any way that works for you. Oh, goodness. I forgot to finish my principal investigator's phone number. I'm sorry. But if you call me, I'll give it to you. All right, so thank you. Gloria, do you have any closing comments? Hello, hello.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Right, I muted it for a minute and I wasn't sure if I had it right back on. Okay. So that's a quick rundown of us and our working relationship, and you can see Great Basin has been at this a little bit longer, more full-time than Southern Rockies. We started out, I believe in 2010, very part-time through the Nature Conservancy in Boulder. So there was no one really working full-time on this until 2012. So we're still working to catch up with Great Basin. You guys are doing a great job. So you can see that there's differences between the consortia. We have had some requests for a lot of printed material, but in the Great Basin there's a huge demand for that, for an online database system. And we don't have as much call for that over here, but that could change. So you can see that there are differences in each one of the consortia, but we work really well together and have a great working relationship, and are looking forward to combining efforts and meeting the needs there in Utah.
Yes, and if you want to get on either one of our websites, you can do so through any of these contact methods below. And then we send, like Gloria said, she sends e-news twice a month, and for the Great Basin it's about once a month. So hopefully we're not overloading your inboxes. So you're welcome to sign up and kind of see the things that we do and that we send around, and see if it's of interest to you.
Okay, so looks like we have 3 questions here. The first one is Low Stump Tree in Park City. Are you still on? We would like to get resource references for Facebook, etc. You're welcome to send me your email, and I can send you those directly. My email is gloria.edwards@colostate.edu. Or a lot of these resources you can get through going on www.firescience.gov, all lowercase one word. And there should be links straight to the Joint Fire Science resources, to Facebook, to Twitter, to Fire Science Digest, and to subscribing for those references.
Yeah, I can't remember what your homepage looks like, Gloria, but I'm pretty sure on each of the homepages of these groups, they should have the Facebook and Twitter and all that right on their homepage. I know ours does.
Right. Let's see. And the map, also 2 places. Somebody, Low Stump Tree, asked if they could get our map of the Southern Rockies Consortia. Low Stump Tree, you just wanted the Southern Rockies map. I believe I have that as well on our website, but I'd be happy to send you those files if you'd like. Okay, I see your email there, so I'll get that to you. And Génie, you might want to weigh in on this as well. Somebody asked, do you ever see that pests are an issue with fire science? And I think that's a very good question. I think that's really driven a lot of massive amount of research and efforts in understanding specifically, the mountain pine beetle. Of course, that's gotten lots of press, how the mountain pine beetle and the stages of mortality that occur afterwards has really generated a lot of research. Of course, the mountain pine beetle affects the lodgepole pine primarily from here all the way up through British Columbia into Canada. And less so the ponderosa pine. The same beetle affects ponderosa pine. And so there's lots of research out there that talks about whether those trees are more flammable when they still have the needles on, and less so when they're in the gray phase and all the needles have fallen off. But then you face a lot of issues with trees falling over and fuel loading on the ground and increasing the fuel loads on the ground and increasing fire severity that way. We've also had emerald ash borer show up in Colorado, and that's going to be affecting ash, increasing that mortality. But one of the biggest ones that's happening now is the spruce engravers that are taking out large stands of spruce in the southern part of Colorado and probably also in southern Wyoming. And that's a different kind of fuel issue because whereas you have a lodgepole pine or a ponderosa pine hanging out there, and all the needles fall off and you have the snag or the skeleton hanging there, you have not quite the same amount of fine fuels, and you also have a little bit of a space, you know, between the ground and the bottom of the crown. But in spruce, high altitude spruce, you don't have that issue. It's fuels all the way down to the ground and with lots and lots of fine twigs. Excuse me. So, excuse me, I'm very sorry. Shade, do you want to talk about pests for a little bit?
Well, I briefly mentioned it in when I was talking, but I think the biggest pest that we have just in the sagebrush is the aroga moth. That does a lot of damage, kills a lot of shrubs, and then makes it more fire prone. There are a lot of other pests too, but that's probably our largest one in the sagebrush.
Excuse me.
Any other questions?
I was just going to say, before I have my little coughing fit here, everybody, sorry. If you are interested in what youth mortality and the effects of fire are, excuse me, I'm so sorry. You might want to look up videos or information about the West Fork fire outside of Pagosa Springs that really showed really extreme fire behavior in a major watershed in southern Colorado. So I'm not currently sure of the status of spruce engravers in eastern Utah. If any of you can keep me updated on that, we would welcome that information. Any more questions?